right, let's talk head coach openings here. There are 5 teams with openings, and everybody, I want to pick who we think is going to be the head coach for these teams. Mm-hmm. So here are the 5 teams. You guys can write them down. That way you have ideas. Obviously, Chicago was already an opening. The Jets were already an opening, and the Saints were already an opening. And then the kind of surprise of Black Monday was Gerard Mayo getting fired. There was a lot of smoke about it.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a job where I'm thinking they have to know that there's a specific guy
I think there is.
that wants this job and is probably going to get this job, in which case, all right, this wasn't working. It didn't work with Gerard Mayo. We got to move on. And then, obviously, the Jags, we all knew that they were going to fire Doug Peterson. You can't have the team fall apart the way that you have the last 2 years and keep your job. You just can't. It just doesn't work like that. So let's start with your coach, Addison, the Chicago Bears. Colin, who do you think is getting this job in Chicago? What are your thoughts? You can give me a couple options, but I want you to pick who you think's getting it.
So the Bears have a history of hiring kind of some questionable guys at head coaching ever since really Lovie Smith. You kind of seen this carousel of kind of weird hires, in my opinion. So I almost think it's going to be another kind of weird hire in Chicago. And I've kind of gone back and forth between a lot of candidates here. Obviously, if you're looking at the biggest name out there is probably Mike Vrabel at this point. But spoiler, I think he's going to a different one of these 5 teams just based off the head coaching openings. But all the rumors around Ben Johnson and the Detroit Lions, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in Chicago. So that'd be the one guy. Obviously, all Bear fans are praying and hoping for Ben Johnson.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went the opposite side of the ball because Aaron Glenn and that defense this past week looked really, really good.
Can you bring some of that fire
man.
from Detroit?
Yep.
But I'm going to go Ben Johnson here. It's chalk. I know. Okay. I know it's chalk. But I'm going to go Ben Johnson. You got to go offensive guy, in my opinion. If you want to develop Caleb Williams, you got to find the offensive coach to match him with and get the most out of him. So that's why I'm going Ben Johnson here.
Okay, yeah. I think Ben Johnson is going to be a common one. I think Vrabel's a decent shout. My only concern with Vrabel and hiring a defensive guy is if your OC is great and your offense looks good, he's gone. There goes your OC. And now you've got to figure out another one. And now you're just changing the offense for Caleb Williams again and again and again. I think you got to go offensive guy. And I think Ben Johnson takes a different job. I don't think he's in Chicago. I think there's another really enticing job that we'll get to later that I think maybe he steals. And he's already been requested to interview for it too. What if we Addison's gonna hate it. And I'm not gonna give you Brian Flores, don't worry, as funny as that would be. I think there's a coach who's already coached Caleb Williams that's gonna become open for this head coaching job. And he's going to be able to say, listen, Caleb Williams had a great year with me at USC. Great season as I was the offensive coordinator before I came back to the league. I've got head coaching experience. I had a team 10-1 at one point. We fell apart, but we were 10-1. I can do this job, and I can get the most out of your quarterback. I think Cliff Kingsbury's in play. I know we don't want it. Yeah. I know that that's not what you want, but I think he's in play. Because if it's not Ben Johnson, I still think you've got to go on the offensive side of the ball. I don't like Bobby Slowick. I think maybe if Mike McCarthy's available, that'd be my call after Ben Johnson, but he's not available as of right now, so I'm not going to go with him. I'm going to go with Cliff just because he's coached Williams already. And doesn't it seem like a Bears hiring just to go and get a guy because it's like, oh, he's done it before, he can do it with him, even though there's better options out there? Feels like a Bears hiring to me. I'm going to guess Cliff Kingsbury as of today. Asking, I'll pass it down the stage, you'll finish us.
Yeah. Yeah, so for the Chicago Bears, obviously Ben Johnson is the most desirable pick. Yeah, everyone wants him, and he's going to have his choice, basically, as to what team he wants to go to. So I'm going to skip that pick. Obviously, that's number one. Yeah, number two is a guy they've already requested to talk to, and this isn't just because I'm a Ravens homer, but they are requesting to talk to Todd Monken, offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens the past 2 years. He's got potentially 2 MVP seasons with his quarterback under his belt, and when we hired him, I was not excited. He was Georgia's offensive coordinator. He was also the offensive coordinator for Jameis Winston when he had his 5,000 30-30 year. 30-30. I think that might have been more Jameis Winston's fault than Todd Monken's. But hey, he's won a championship. He's going for another one right here in Baltimore. He's got a winning pedigree. I wasn't thrilled about the hire immediately, but hey, he's turned my life around, And I've been ecstatic through and through with him, and I think he'd be a great hire for the Chicago Bears if Ben Johnson decides, hey, you know what? I'm going to go elsewhere. Yeah. I don't know if I want to go.
In Detroit.
Yeah, he could stay in Detroit.
He did it for years, man.
Honestly, with what's lined up right now and what's available, I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago's like, "Hey, we're gonna go a different route," and he's like,
"All right,
I'll see what's there next year."
Yeah, we'll see what's available next year.
I think that's probably the call because I don't think any of these other places are a tenable situation for any coach, really. I mean, we'll talk about the Pats later on, but it's hard to find a coaching position that's
like, yes, I want
hey,
this.
I want to be there. Because the last guy got fired for a reason. But Todd Monken, I think that's a great call for the Chicago Bears. If they do get him, I'll be sad because I do like the guy a lot. And we'll have to find yet another offensive coordinator for Lamar.
Yep.
It'll be his third. But hey, that's the life.
That's the life of living with John Harbaugh, hiring good coordinators.
Yeah.
They're just going to keep believing.
And you know what? I'll believe in the next one too.
Yep.
Unless John Harbaugh's gone after this Saturday.
Which he could be.
If we lose, I would not be surprised. And then Todd Monken's head coach of the Baltimore Ravens.
There we go. They make the choice to go with Monken instead. As says the Bears fan, I'm certain that Johnson's your number one choice.
Yeah, I would say he is. I would say Ben Johnson's number one choice, and obviously it's all Twitter talk, but I saw some stuff for Bears Insider saying that Ben Johnson and Poles, pretty much talked last year, and Ben Johnson was like, I already told Detroit I'm running it back one more time for the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And then Poles is like, okay, well, I can't go fire Flus and hire a new guy and miss out on Ben Johnson if he's really 1 year away.
True.
So that's, I guess, maybe why they kept Flus. Okay. I don't know. I think Ben Johnson is definitely the favorite. From everything I see and read, it sounds like if they don't fuck it up, that's what they're going to get. I will say Jags are definitely in play for Ben Johnson as well because money's going to come into talk big time with Khan down there. Yeah, and if it's all Ben Johnson's talk, though, because he's waited for a good spot, and the Jags aren't in a good spot, but it's money. I think Ben Johnson is the hire. I'm going to go, but I will say, obviously, I wouldn't mind Monken or Joe Brady in Buffalo.
Joe Brady.
My only question of both of those are, though, you're playing with MVP Lamar last season, and this season's another potential MVP. And if Joe Brady either has the MVP or potential back-to-back MVP type seasons from Allen, does that translate to a guy you need to develop in Caleb Williams? Ben Johnson almost resurrected Goff in the offense there because Goff was down and out. I mean, I've said it multiple times. I was completely out on that guy. If I'm leaning, obviously, it's best case scenario for me.
Yeah, right.
I'm going Ben Johnson and the exciting offense.
I will say with Joe Brady, he did come in after their offensive coordinator was fired, and he turned them around within a few weeks.
He did.
Which was very impressive, and I do like that call. I have him later on a different list.
Yep.
But
I was just saying, I mean, hey, even in college, too, I get it was Burrow, but his offense was the best offense ever in the history of college football. So he'd be an interesting take. If I had to pick one defensive guy, I don't really know. I mean, as shitty as it is, it might be Flores because he's been a head coach. Yeah. Talk to Anthony Weaver, it's like, well, has he ever had the spot? I mean, sure, he's a leader of men, but when the push comes to shove, I want somebody that's done it, even though Ben Johnson's never done it.
He was the assistant head coach for the Baltimore Ravens for 2 years.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
Just
I will say, Thomas Brown was the assistant head coach of the Rams, and that was
true, and he's not so hot.
But still, give me Ben Johnson. It's the easy pick.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with it because I think it makes the most sense. He's going to be attracted by Caleb Williams. He's going to get him there, so I'm going to go with Ben Johnson.
Okay. Yep, I agree with that. I will never forgive Brian Flores for firing Ben Johnson as soon as he got into Miami's building in 2019. It was one of the first things he did was call Ben Johnson into his office to give him his walking papers. Nice job, idiot. And now Ben Johnson just gashed your defense, and I hope he does it again in 2 weeks when they play again.
I'll say, talking about Ben Johnson, it is shocking every time I see this man that he's on the Detroit Lions. Because he has, I didn't even know what this man looked like for so long.
Just no aura about him.
Everyone on the Lions is just crazy, rah-rah, in your face. And Ben Johnson's just back there with, a notebook.
Yeah, pushing his glasses up. They're taped around the middle. He's like, shit, I got to teach this. Yeah, and just crushing it. Crushing it.
He's the nerd doing everybody's homework for the jobs that just gets raised.
Yeah, and he's a genius.
And he should be.
As he should be. He's awesome. He's awesome. Alrighty, next team I have written down here is the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, Colin, I'm going to start with you here. Who do you think is taking that Jacksonville job?
So I have two names written down here. We've already said them both. And it just makes sense because you look at the Jags, and yes, their defense is terrible, and I think it's going to remain terrible. And you look at their offense, young-ish quarterback still. Got to revitalize that career. I got Joe Brady and Cliff Kingsbury both written down here. If I had to give the nod to one, I'm probably going Joe Brady out of the two. I know Cliff does have that head coaching experience, both college and pros. But Joe Brady, first job as a head coach, that's who I have going to Jacksonville.
Okay, I like that. For the Jacksonville job, I've got someone I've already mentioned just briefly here, but just a moment ago. I got Brian Flores listed here. You look at Jacksonville and their problems. We lost Trevor Lawrence for the year. That sucks. That's tough. But that team was soft. They were not aggressive up front, and their defense was terrible. Brian Flores has proven time and time again that while he's a terrible human being and will probably make Trevor Lawrence cry a lot, he can coach up a defense. He can coach up a defense. It'd be really funny. They'll have a top 3 or 4 pick. I think they have pick 5 or 6 in the draft. And so he'll be able to take the best defensive player available. Spoiler alert for my next mock draft. Will Johnson will be available at that pick. You get a number 1 corner, a lockdown corner. You can play man coverage with him and Tyson Campbell. I think Brian Flores can bring a cultural change to Jacksonville. Like, you need someone tough in there. You don't have anybody tough. They need toughness. They need some tough love in that building. I think Brian Flores is a decent shout for Jacksonville. I don't think that they have enough to entice Ben Johnson, in my opinion. So I'm going to go Brian Flores. Addison.
Yeah, I think the Jags would be the second to last team remaining in the Ben Johnson sweepstake because they're going to offer the most money.
Yeah.
Con is probably going to be willing to spend the most, but it's just, is the situation good enough to really get a coach to take the money over the situation being worse? I'm going to go Cliff Kingsbury for the Jags here. And I do like your point of the defensive side of the ball needs adjusted. But I think that the Jags want Trevor Lawrence to really get his footing solid underneath him. They look what he did with Jaden Daniels. Like you said before, his time in Arizona, Kyler Murray exploded, took a big step with Cliff as his coach. I think they need Trevor Lawrence to become the franchise quarterback that they're paying. I think Cliff Kingsbury will have a plan for that Khan's going to love. I did love the interview with the press that Khan's given with his GM on Zoom. And he gets asked, if a coach comes in and has a good plan for asking for a new GM, would you make the move? And he goes, yeah, I would. With his GM right there. But it's at the end of the day, it's just the truth.
Insane.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely insane. I know. You're sitting there, you're like, damn, my seat's hot.
And if you watch the video, he's...
Yeah, what? I'm looking around me? I'm shocked. It's like, well, yeah, you very well might be if the case is made. But I think Cliff could come in, get Trevor Lawrence at least going because he calls an offense that the quarterback excels in. And if he'll build something Trevor can grow in, I think the Jags really want that because the money's attached to Trevor already. And as crappy as it is, not every team's winning the Super Bowl. You've already paid a quarterback. You need to at least have production from him. You know, this isn't a situation where he's not been paid. You've paid. You've got to have production from the quarterback. You're paying big money. Cliff Kingsbury can get that. So I'm going to go Cliff for the Jags.
Yeah, I also have another offensive coordinator in line for the Jags, and this is where I put Joe Brady out there. Okay. I think Joe Brady is the choice here, specifically because I think there's so much on the line for Trevor Lawrence right now, and I think they're forcing him to make all these big throws, and they're putting so much on him, and I think Joe Brady could be the guy to go in there and say, you know what, we're putting this run game in there, you know, and that's exactly what happened with Josh Allen, you know. We put a run game in there, all of a sudden, Les is on his shoulders, he excels, he's doing all these, everything opens up a little bit, get the play action pass working, and then all of a sudden, Trevor Lawrence is the guy that we've been expecting him to be. I'm not saying he's going to be a top 5 quarterback because I think that is a little far-fetched, especially 5 years down the line. Like, you got the extension already, and you're still not getting that expectation. But I think he could possibly be top 10 with Joe Brady out there, especially if he's the one calling plays, if he's taking the OC spot as well when he comes in. And then all of a sudden, I don't think it's going to be Travis Etienne. I think it'll be Tank Bigsby being the guy and toting that rock. And if all goes well, I think that Joe Brady has the best shot to make Trevor Lawrence excel by the whole less is more additive, you know?
Okay. I like it. I like that. Plus, I will say, I was kind of rude on the Jags' job, like saying, like, that's not that enticing. They do have a quarterback in place, and they've got 2 good wide receivers in Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas Jr., who was one of the best rookies.
No state income tax.
Right. There's a lot of reasons to like the job. Right.
All that matters.
Yeah, it does.
I think that what you brought up with the Zoom call and saying, like, hey, if a coach says, like, this is a reason to get rid of him, I'll get rid of him. That's a reason for me not to go there.
Yeah, like, oh, okay, right. You'll fire me immediately.
And then all of a sudden, if I'm Ben Johnson, who I think is the smartest out of the group, that would be a reason why I wouldn't be going to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
You know?
That to me is the place where if that's your first head coaching job, it's backs against the wall to make your one opportunity count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go somewhere where you think this is a good job where I can be a head coach here for a long time.
Yeah.
You're not going there thinking about your next job. And it seems like for the Jags, when you go coach the Jags, you're thinking about your next job already because you know you have such a short shelf life there. Alrighty, next up, New York Jets, having moved on from Robert Saleh, who will be a DC somewhere this year, I'm sure. Wouldn't mind him in Miami if Waiver left. Wouldn't hate him in Chicago with Ben Johnson. That'd be a great duo. Jets head coaching spot. Addison, who do you think your Jets are hiring?
Well, JTS, Jets. I'm going in the time machine, baby.
Yeah.
Screw it.
Yep.
Give me Rex Ryan as the Jets coach. I can't lie. I bought into him on Jet Up in the morning, and some of the takes he's had. At the end of the day, everything he says, I'm like, damn, that's a guy I think players would want to play for in the league. And I mean, hey, he's had success, and I get the Jets. It's tenuous there, and end of the day, he had decent success in Buffalo. Right before they take off, they get rid of him. I think Rex Ryan can come back, get the culture right, get the defense at least humming again, because that had fallen off a cliff. Hopefully Rodgers just walks, and I think Rex Ryan would make that happen as well.
I think Ryan said that he was getting rid of Rodgers Country Club if he's hired. If he's hired, he's getting rid of the country club.
And I think that's going to be appealing for Woody Johnson at the end of the day because Rodgers just came in and it's just been a shit show for 2 years. And with the play on the field this season from Rodgers, it's just absolutely unacceptable to think that they want him back. I think Rex Ryan's just a clean slate guy. I know he's been there. It'll be funny. It'd be awesome. But I think it's a real possibility. And I think he could do a decent job there, at least get it right, because you're rebuilding at this point.
Yeah, they have.
And I think he can come get this ship steady, almost like you did for Buffalo, and then maybe before you take off, you fire this guy as well.
Yeah.
But give me Rex Ryan for the New York Jets.
I also have Rex Ryan written down right here for the New York Jets. This man is just the embodiment of New York right here, you know? He's mean, he's gritty, he's abrasive.
He probably stinks.
He probably stinks.
He likes feet.
Yeah, big foot fetish.
Yeah, big foot guy. We all know everyone in New York likes feet.
Yep.
So, but no, I think what you said about Aaron Rodgers is absolutely correct, Addison. I just think that like they're done with Aaron Rodgers. I think they're kind of fed up, especially ownership and all that. They put so much into this man, and it accounted for nothing. Yeah. And then he's like, "Oh, I may be playing again. I may be not. All this maybe stuff. I have to do like a mental retreat again." And I think Johnson's just like, "Man, I just need someone to get this out of here." Like you said, a clean slate. Yeah. They haven't won since he was there last time.
Yeah,
you know. So maybe they're like, you know what? Let's maybe we cut him short or cut him loose just a little early. We could have been right there. Mm-hmm. Let's let him do it again. You know, I mean, let's not forget he won with Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
He went to 2 AFC championships with Mark Sanchez. It was like top 3 in the NFL for like years in a row.
Darrelle Revis, he's got a Darrelle Revis type already, sort of in South Garden.
Yep, until he comes to Baltimore.
Right, yeah, until he leaves, because all the stars want out of the Jets right now.
Yeah, they do.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's crazy. Who was it that said like they were wanting to come to the Jets and someone was like, no, don't do it.
Oh, T. Higgins.
Yeah, it was T. Higgins.
Someone told Sauce Gardner, get this man to New York, and Sauce said, I will not be doing that.
Yes.
I will not be telling him to come to New York.
No.
It's like, oh, okay. That's right. You must like where you work, huh,
right?
buddy?
But I think Rex Ryan is the guy here as well. I think it'd just be fun to have him back in the league. I like watching him on the NFL shows and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, I think he's the guy, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, he's been itching for years.
He has been. He's been working on it. I will say I wrote down Rex Ryan, lock it in. Like if I had to put my life on one head coach going to one spot, it's Rex Ryan going to the New York Jets.
He seems pretty confident.
He was on a radio show yesterday and they said, so do you think that you've got a shot at this job? He said, I don't think I have a shot at the job. I think I have the job. I think this job is mine. I'm already looking at staff. Like, this is my job. I don't know what he's been talking to Woody Johnson about, but it seems like this is his job. He wore a green. He looked like the Joker on Get Up yesterday. He wore a green suit with a purple tie. It's like, that's an interesting combination. And he's got the fake veneers.
I'm not surprised.
No, it wouldn't shock me if he was somewhere else.
He would be that
confident to not get
for
it.
nothing to happen.
Oh, and then he'd be so mad at the Jets. It'd be really funny at TV.
He would rip him.
He would tear him apart. Every time they did something bad, he'd tear him apart on TV. I just think that that's his job. I don't think that they have enough to entice any of these offensive minds. Right, like who are you selling as a GM, which they don't have, by the way. If you're an owner, who are you selling to these hotshot head coach candidates? Who are you selling to Ben Johnson? Who are you selling to Aaron Glenn or Mike Vrabel? Nothing. We've got some pieces, right? We've got a young left tackle who struggled this year. We've got a receiver who wants out. We've got a corner who wants out, and that's about it. So you got to go with the guy who wants to be a head coach, not with the guy that wants to be your head coach, because that doesn't exist.
Yeah, our 2 quarterbacks for like 77 combined.
Exactly, right. They're both going to be gone. Devontae Adams is going to be gone. Like, you've mortgaged your future to try and make this work, and you went 12-22. So good job. You've completely just screwed up, and I love it. And it makes me very happy, and it's very Jet-like. But I think Rex Ryan is the Jets' next head coach. Gone.
I like everything you guys said. The green suit on Jet Up was definitely kind of symbolic.
Like a hint, right? It had to be.
Yep, I'm here on Black Monday wearing my green suit.
Wearing my Jets get up. Come get me.
I do think the Jets do go in the defensive head coaching route, just because you think about their past head coaching hires. They always seem to have the defensive mind as their head coach.
Former Dolphins.
They do, and I have a former Dolphin written down here. I do think I'm going to play devil's advocate. I do agree Rex Ryan does have a great shot at getting this job, but I wrote down Brian Flores here. I do think they still go defense, as I mentioned already, and Brian Flores is a guy who had that Minnesota Vikings defense with who on the defensive side this year, besides a couple of names.
Van Ginkel, let's not disrespect.
Yeah, Andrew Van Ginkel.
Pro Bowl, Van Ginkel, 11 sacks.
Number 43 on the field, number 1 in my heart.
Number 1 in my heart.
But I'm going to go Brian Flores here, play the devil's advocate, just throw another name out there. I think they go defense for the head coach.
I think you have to go defense because that's what you're selling. That's what you can sell to these coaching opportunities is defensive guys because that's what you have. You don't have anything on the offense to build around right now. Garrett Wilson wants out. They only have, I think, $10 million in cap space this offseason. Rodgers is gone. They don't have a quarterback. It's like you got a lot of young guys you're going to have to pay. Wilson and Gardner are both up for contract extensions officially. Brees Hall, contract extension. You've only got him for one more season. You got to start paying people.
Their window being those rookie contracts.
Yeah, and they're now done. Yep, they put all of their eggs in the Rodgers basket, and it didn't work. And I respect them for going all in because that's what you want to see teams do. Yeah. Go all in. It didn't work, and now you've got to reset. And I think Flores would be a good culture guy. I think Rex Ryan would be a good culture guy. So, although you're giving Brian Flores a young quarterback, you sure you want to do that?
No.
No, me neither. He'll call Ryan Fitzpatrick back. Gino. Sam Darnold. Yeah, I said, Sam, come on. We'll give you $50 million. I don't know. Sam Darnold might be turning into a pumpkin. Yeah, maybe JJ's ready to swing out. Alrighty, next up, this is one where this is probably the one I care about the least. Sorry, Saints fans. Saints job is open. I think that I think Aaron Glenn. I like Aaron Glenn in this spot. I think that they don't have a lot to sell on the offensive side of the ball. Don't have a whole lot to sell on the defensive side of the ball. You don't have cap space to spend. So you go get a guy that's like, I just want to be a head coach, man. And I love his mentality. I love seeing him on the sideline getting pumped up with his guys. And he's gotten a lot out of not a ton. Amik Robertson was a 5th-round draft pick not too long ago. Shut down Justin Jefferson, although Justin Jefferson had some big drops. Tough game for Justin Jefferson when the lights were bright. But Aaron Glenn has just lost pieces on the defense, and that defense has continued to play solid ball and win football games. And when it came down to the biggest game of their season, they gave up 9 points to one of the best offenses in football. So I like Aaron Glenn to come in and take this job in New Orleans. Colin?
I have the same exact name written down here. Talk about a guy that finished his career with the Saints, was in that building for 4 years with Sean Payton as well, so he knows the area, knows the building. And talk about Amik Robertson. One of the best lines I've ever heard in the post game or in the locker room. How can you bury something that comes from the dirt?
Yeah, that's right.
That's a bar.
But how can you bury something that comes from the dirt?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I like
Zaloni pregame. He posted a picture of his arm, literally with the line down, with sutures, holding his arm together before they casted it. He said everyone wants to be a dog until it's time to do dog shit, and he wrapped that bitch up and played a great game. I'm pulling for him. I have to.
I can't ever get mad at this team.
I'll say I love Aaron Glenn as well. Fourth quarter, he's just sitting cross-legged on the bench, just chilling, looking around like I did my job.
I did it.
So I like him going to the Saints here as well.
Yeah, he's earned a spot.
Yeah, I hate to copycat both of you guys, but I'm going to Aaron Glenn as well. Colin, you said it right there. The fact that he played there and was part of the culture when they were a winning team with Sean Payton, I think the Saints are going to look at Aaron Glenn and go, you've done a lot with little, with players getting hurt. If we can even get you somewhat of some talent on this defensive side of the ball, well, you'll at least get that right, and you seem to be a good leader. Guys rally to you. Yeah. And I really think the big key is the fact that he was there at one point in time when they were successful. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a blast to the past with him. So give me Aaron Glenn to the New Orleans Saints. Copycat answer, but hey, it's popular. He's going to get a head coaching job somewhere.
He is, for sure.
Yeah, no, I love the Aaron Glenn answer. I have 3 names written down that aren't him, though, just because I don't have faith that the Saints are going to make the right choice.
That's fair.
That's mostly where I'm going with this. Yep. The first one I have, they're all 3 offensive coordinators. The first one is I'd be shocked if it happened, but apparently he might be getting interviewed soon. Matt Nagy.
Yeah, I heard that. No, he is.
Heard he's getting interviewed.
Yeah, he's going to get interviewed.
Yeah. Second one, Kellen Moore.
Okay. Sure.
I know.
Yeah,
And the third one, who I think is the most probable, just because he sounds like a Saints head coach. I don't know why, but it's Drew Petzing, offensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. He took a little like roster that didn't have much talent. He did a lot with it when he took over 2 years ago, and I think he probably has the best shot out of these 3 guys.
He does sound like a Saints coach.
He just sounds like one.
Dennis Allen,
Dennis Allen, Drew Petzing.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
So Drew Petzing is the guy that I'm sticking with, but I don't think they're going to make the right choice in bringing in Aaron Glenn, especially when I think they're probably going to be either drafting a quarterback, bringing in someone young. So you can't stick with Derek Carr.
No, God.
That's not happening. If they stick with Spencer Rattler, if they do something like that, they're going to want someone to open it up. So that's why I went offense right here, but I do think Aaron Glenn deserves it the most. I agree with you guys.
Agreed.
I feel terrible for Chris Olave if they go with him, though, because he doesn't know how to get a number one receiver involved in the game plan.
No,
so.
he does not.
He's out of there.
Or MHJ sucks.
Yeah, maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. is just not very. No, he's so good. How
I
is he?
refuse to believe
Yeah, me too. I will not believe that. Alrighty, last team here, the New England Patriots job. Now, the Jared Mayo firing was surprising, but there's also a bunch of murmuring about it where it's like, well, maybe they're gonna do it, and that has to get leaked from somewhere. You don't fire a head coach after 1 year unless you think you've got a shot at the top dog in the available coaching. Mike Vrabel's available for the Patriots. I don't know if it's Mike Vrabel, though. I think the Patriots think they've already requested and been agreed to an interview with this guy. I think Ben Johnson's on the table here. Yeah. You look around the Patriots, they were bad this year. We knew they would be bad this year. But they have a quarterback in place, much like the Bears do, in Drake May. I think you definitely can say, yeah, Drake May's the guy going forward. They have the number 4 pick in the NFL draft, so they can get a Teteroa McMillan, a top wide receiver in this draft class at pick 4. And they've got $130 million in cap space. You can build a whole team with that. You go get the best offensive lineman. You go get a T. Higgins. You get T. Higgins, Teteroa McMillan. All of a sudden, you got some size out there to catch the ball. I think that they're going to be able to pick between Vrabel and Ben Johnson. I think it's going to come down to who do the Patriots want, because this is an enticing job, man. As much as I hate to say it, they're a team that you can start saying, well, if Drake May gets going, they could be good in a couple of years. You never know. So I'm going to say either Mike Vrabel or Ben Johnson. I'm going to go, if I want to be right, I'm going to say Mike Vrabel. But if I want to go for the splash one that I think they could try, I'm going to say Ben Johnson.
I think Ben Johnson, that's a fair point, because shout out Patriots for benching Drake May, like I said they should, because it's to that point where he's played well enough. Yep, they're trying to lose. Shout out Joe Milton for getting the victory.
Hey, Joe Milton might have just earned himself a second-round pick from another team.
Yeah, he looked damn good. He was playing preseason.
Colts might want to trade.
That was basically a preseason game, right, with the third stringers for the Bills. But still, he did look good. But talking about the coaches, I think Vrabel, I think that's the reason they fired Mayo. Kraft comes on and says, this is the hardest decision I've ever had to make as an owner. You let Tom Brady walk, and you fired Bill Belichick. You guys agreed to part ways. And then you said that this is the most difficult decision you've ever had to make. And I think that, again, this is similar to the Saints. It's a blast from the past. It's Mike Vrabel. He was here with Bill. He had the success. He knows the Patriot way. And I think Kraft made sees the one guy that if this was the hardest move ever, it's got to be for one person. Ben Johnson's interesting, but he's got the pick of the litter. I think Mike Vrabel, it's just a perfect match made in heaven. Come on home, come back to New England, get things right. You have Drake May on the offensive side figured out. Get him a coordinator. I get maybe that's not pretty, because then what happens if they're good and then the offensive coordinator gets... But still, I think it's Vrabel, and it's just because, again, of the culture of that when he was there, they were dominant. I think Kraft's going to want that. And I'm sure Vrabel wants to go coach his old team that he had success on and won Super Bowls with. So I'm going Vrabel to the Patriots. It's probably a pretty popular pick, but at the end of the day, I think that it was just writing on the wall, and that's why they got rid of Mayo.
Yeah, I think Vrabel is the obvious choice here, but I'm going to throw out a different option that I think could be a better choice, and I'm going to go with Liam Cohen.
Really?
OC for Tampa Bay right here. I love Liam Cohen. I think he's held a lot of positions around the NFL throughout his years. But this year specifically, I mean, we didn't have huge hopes for Baker Mayfield. After coming off of one good season, has he ever had 2 good seasons in a row? No. Liam Cohen made that happen, especially with some young pieces. You see Jalen McMillan progressing. You see Bucky Irving progressing. You see several pieces on the offensive line progressing under this man, right? And what do the Patriots have? I mean, young pieces that need to be developed. Yep. And I think that's what Liam Cohen's going to do. I mean, they just had Belichick, who was defensive. Yep. They just had Gerard Mayo, defensive. And I think Kraft is going to be like, hey, I gotta change gears here. And that's why I think Liam Cohen could be one guy that's a dark horse coming out of nowhere saying, you know what, let me be the Patriots head coach. Let me get Drake May back to not Tom Brady status, but like a status where they can be a respectable organization. So I'm excited for that. I hope that happens. I will say it is like you said, it was the hardest choice Kraft ever had to make. And then he publicly admitted, I put him in a bad situation.
Yeah. It's terrible. He won probably more games than you expected.
Yeah.
And you fired him.
After the first week, I think, when they beat Cincy,
it's like, what?
I think even he was surprised.
Yeah, absolutely.
What the hell? We didn't want to win here.
Right.
And I think, hey, they got a, top 3 pick right now? Number 3? Yeah. Four?
Somewhere.
I know that
number 4.
That
picked 4. Giants picked 3.
Final win really screwed them. Actually,
from 1 to 4.
Yeah, and they could have had Travis Hunter. They could have gotten better twice.
They could have traded down and gotten a bunch of picks from someone who wants like a Cam Ward or Sanders.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if that's not why he got fired. If they said, just go lose, it's okay, just go lose. Play Joe Milton.
And that's not what he
play
does.
all the backups, we're going to lose this game, it's okay. And he said, no, I'd rather win. And then they're like, all right, well, you're fired.
Yeah. But those are my reasons for Liam Cohen.
Okay, I like it. Colin, wrap it up for us. Who's the head coach of the Patriots?
Well, I'm going chalk, Mike Vrabel,
Yeah.
but I really like what Sage said about the changing of the guard, going
Yeah,
from the
I
defense,
like that
going
too.
from the Belichick kind of tree, if you will, because that's you talk about Gerard Mayo winning that game, maybe a potential reason why getting fired, but it also could just be like, we're done with the Belichick side of things.
time to move on.
Anybody who's associated, let's just move on to some new faces, new blood.
Yeah.
Kind of hinting real quick at week 1, that changed the trajectory of 2 team seasons.
Yeah, it did.
Patriots
Totally did.
could have been the number 1 pick. Bengals could have been in the playoffs.
Yep.
All of a sudden, neither one happened.
Yep.
But I'm going to put Mike Vrabel here. It's obvious, I know, but I could see it totally.
Agreed.
That is a good point because Mayo, I guess, has the same thing where he played there.
Right.
With the success with Belichick. So it's
Right.
like,
He was damn good.
it's
I mean, he was
both
they
have that
and
argument.
I'm just shocked that Kraft fired him because Kraft said he's been my pick to replace with Belichick for 5 years. I've been sitting on this guy as the next head coach of my organization for 5 years, and you gave him 1 year with the worst roster in the NFL. I think you gave him 1 year and you fired him. I don't understand it. I was shocked. So they must think they have something big planning.
I do almost think we should just discuss at least Dallas, because we're probably all in agreement that they bring Mike back.
Uh-huh.
But if it gets to the 14th, he's going to become a free agent. He'll
True.
be highly touted. At least, I mean, I guess are we all in agreement that the Cowboys do what it takes to get him back? Because I think so.
I think they do too. I don't think there's.
Besides Chicago, would any of these teams hire Mike McCarthy right here? I mean, I don't think the Jets do. I don't
Jags,
think the
maybe?
Jags,
do.
maybe.
Jags
The
maybe.
What
Jags
the
just brought back
offense.
Doug Peterson from another job,
Yeah.
It seems like a similar type of hire there. The Saints might, but I think
Yeah.
it's probably between the Saints and Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he'll be back in Dallas.
I do
if I have
too.
to obviously say so.
Yeah.
I don't even think he'll get to the 14th. They'll get the extension
Right.
going before that, but it's at least interesting.
Interesting.
Because if you lose Mike, where do you go? What's
Right.
the plan?
Who's the option next?
So-
Agreed. Got to be an offensive guy. You
And
would
then it
think.
turns into where if you wait to the 14th, maybe a couple of these guys get snagged and you're
Right.
running out of options.
Now you got
But who
options.
knows?
You got to go with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also in the coaching carousel, I was shocked that the Giants came out and said we're keeping Joe Shane and Brian Daboll. That stunned me. I thought that post was going to be that they were fired for sure. I was like, oh yeah, see ya. Thanks for playing, guys.
It's interesting because the assumption, they're going to draft a quarterback? So now
There's not going to be one available at 3, man. There's not going to be one.
We'll see, because I don't know if I'm on the Cleveland quarterback train because
I'm not, for what it's worth. I have them getting a quarterback in my
who
mind.
trades?
Yeah.
Because then it's like, I think that they will be taking the second quarterback because, I mean, what's their choice?
Yeah, they don't have a quarterback.
anything, but then you're putting a rookie quarterback in a last
Drew
year
Lock.
of a head coach. So they're pulling a Bears here.
Yeah.
Where they're going to keep their GM and their head coach that are on the hot seat.
Yep.
Go rookie quarterback, fix our problems, and then fire the coach
And
and
fire
GM.
the coach.
And then your rookie quarterback has to have a new head coach, a new GM, the whole thing, a new OC in year 2. Potentially in year 1, if you struggle, you fire him mid-season.
Yeah.
You're literally looking at what the Bears did and how it's gone wrong, and you're copying them.
Yeah. Right.
Not good.
No offense to the Bears.
No,
Not like the
but I
Dolphins
mean,
have had
that's-
some success either, but
that's
that's not an organization you want to copy.
But it is a cycle.
That is
Yeah.
literally what the Bears have done over
Yes.
and over. And then the Giants
Rookie
are saying,
QB,
let's
fired
do
the coach.
this now.
Right,
with
this
extend
works.
the keeping Dabble and Sean. I don't really get that one as well. I think the
Yeah.
other team, the Colts.
Yeah, I'm surprised they kept both too. I was.
I will say this with the Colts. I think that they might be flirting the line with we don't want to copy the Bears.
Right.
Let's give them one more year, and then if it doesn't work, we're resetting literally
Everything.
everything. Because then it's a new GM, new coach, Richardson. Because it'd be the same thing of, do you give up on a guy after 2 seasons? I think maybe there's enough to give up, but there's enough
Yeah.
to potentially look
Hang
at.
on for another
you
year.
want to give him a new coach, 1 year of Rich,
Right.
potentially Ballard getting fired.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting spot. Maybe they're just delaying the inevitable.
Yeah.
But
That's what it feels like.
How much of these resurgent stories that we have this year have helped coaches and quarterbacks
True.
stay in the league?
Yeah.
Probably this coming year,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Shane Steichen might be there because Sam Darnold came out of nowhere. Geno Smith came back last 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years
You know,
ago.
like all these quarterbacks coming
Russ
back.
this
and it's
year
like,
playing
hey,
well.
This might be a guy,
Yeah.
We might
Right.
just need a second.
Might just need some time. And Richardson was the ultimate. This guy needs some time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like he was the ultimate toolsy prospect. He's the guy where you take based on the upside, not because what he can do
If
right
I'm a
now.
Colts fan and my options are give up on Rich and have another team immediately pick him
And
up
have
or
him
trade
succeed.
him for dirt and have him go succeed, or another year where you suck, but then potentially like Arch Manning,
Arch
could be your
Manning.
quarterback.
Drew Aller looks awesome in
I
next
think
year's
potentially
class.
next year's class is stronger. I think,
Way stronger at
you know,
quarterback. way stronger.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe, and I think the Giants are sort of screwed as well. We'll see if they take a quarterback.
Yeah, I think this year's draft class has one quarterback worth taking in the first round.
I think G-Men and Colts both.
Cam Ward. Cam Ward. I think Shedeur Sanders might suck. I've been watching some of his tape recently, getting ready for the draft. Man, he's unathletic.
Yeah, he's not an athlete.
Not an athlete at all.
Shocking.
Considering who his father is, and also he's got a weak arm. He's got a weak arm. So you're not an athlete. You don't have a very good arm.
What? He has
Are you
a
drafting Eli
Bo
Manning first over?
Yeah, right.
Bo Nix lob. Is
Yeah.
what his deep ball looks like.
Uh-huh.
You know, Bo Nix can throw it with
Can
extreme
zip it.
force, but his whole deep ball was, he just lobs
Just
it.
lobs it, yeah.
And that's what Shedeur does, and he just lobs it long to Travis Hunter, and it's like, you're not going to have him.
No.
You're most likely, hey, if he goes to the Giants, though, neighbors.
Yeah, Giants.
Tennessee, though, if he goes there, who the hell's he got?
Yeah, right.
Well, speaking of Tennessee, I don't know if you saw it, as of 9 minutes ago, they just fired their GM. Ron Carthon is
Oh, I did not
so
see
with the
that.
number 1 overall pick, they're going to have a new GM
Wow.
to choose their first pick.
Callahan, that's interesting as well, because it's his first season.
First season, yeah.
So I'm assuming his situation was, hey, I got given Will Levis. Let me draft my guy.
That's what I think he's going to do.
So you're going to believe in him?
I'm very confident. Apparently, the Titans there's a report that they are enamored with Cam Ward, that they love Cam Ward as a prospect. I think that's where they're going.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked if Cam Ward is not the first pick. I'm surprised Ron Carthon's fired. 2 years in Tennessee. That's surprising.
I mean, I'll say this. What it showed, I get it's Levis and Mason Rudolph at quarterback, but what offensively did they show?
I mean, they brought in a whole bunch of vets, and none of it meshed.
Yeah.
I mean, they had Calvin Ridley go over 1,000 yards this year, and that's about their only offensive accolade this whole year.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears on one leg is going to be the saving grace of your team? Probably
Tajay
not.
Spears had like 2 touchdowns going into week 18.
Yeah.
Like, that's not good.
Not
for
good.
a guy that you're splitting carries pretty much 50-50 with.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, and so also, side note, Bears interviewing Mike Vrabel tomorrow. That interview's tomorrow. Big interview. Love that. I like that. Why
How
not?
do you feel about Vrabel?
Yeah.
I would not dislike Vrabel.
Culture guy.
He'd be the number one. I truly think he's not on anybody else's. I think he's a Patriot, so I think that's all just formal.
Sure.
But if he's really available and the Bears hired him, I wouldn't be upset. I still think I'd go Ben Johnson, then Vrabel is right behind him.
Yeah. I think that Brian Poles is just using this for all the free dinners from the McCaskies. He's like, I'm going to interview 20 people. I'm going to interview 20 people for the head coaching job.
Yeah.
And I'm taking them out to nice dinners every time. And it's all on the McCaskies' dime. Brilliant. I think it's brilliant. Brilliant work.
I might get a head coaching job soon.
I'm surprised we haven't got a call
I
yet.
just hope the Bears are flying their coaching candidates out in first class.
Yeah.
They flew Dan Quinn out and coach when they ended up hiring Eberflus.
Gotta
Seriously,
save some
Dan Quinn and
bucks.
Coach. That's insane.
That's
I
crazy.
wouldn't get on the plane.
No.
Owners
No.
send out private jets.
Yes,
and
and they're like,
send
hey,
him on
we got you an
first
economy
class.
seat.
Right.
Comes with free peanuts and a water.
Absolutely.
In the middle seat.
In the middle seat, yeah, you're
I will
seat
say,
B.
no polls. Hopefully he says, what the fuck are y'all doing? And has figured
Yeah.
that out. But we'll
Settles,
see.
yeah.
We'll see.
Alrighty,